What's up, it's your boy John and Shreve. I have BB Pro, Mr. Tell Like It Is. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Up. Today, guys, we're gonna be coaching up Jeff Nippert. Not necessarily coaching Jeff Nippert up. I thought it would take an opportunity to actually make a point because this needs to be said and not a lot of people are saying it. Now, I'm taking his video because he's doing specifically what I'm gonna talk about today, and that is form with your big three lifts. Your deadlift, your squat, and bench. Now, I want to make a point and make this point very, very clear. I'm a strength and conditioning coach first and foremost. That's what I was doing from the jump. My job was primarily to help you get better at the sport you're doing. I did that way long before I was doing the bodybuilding stuff today. So when I look at this, I have to really tell people and specify because I see this happen all the time. And here's the thing. Unless you are training specifically for a sport, you know, baseball, hockey, basketball, football, tennis, soccer, whatever, those mainstream sports, or unless you're doing like those specialty sports like powerlifting, strongman, Highland games, all of those sports have specific techniques to optimize their performance. Understand that, okay? Now, here's the thing. We don't have to bench, we don't have to deadlift, and we don't have to squat to build those areas at all. You are in the gym training to change your physique. You are trying to be more aesthetic. You are trying to build muscle in a way to emphasize the overall look you want, being it, you know, bigger arms or whatever, or having a wider shoulders and a narrow waist. That's all you're doing. That means the techniques of the other sports are not required for you to create that physique. And we get these things mixed up. Now, is there a problem with doing deadlifts or squats and bench? There's not one problem at all. The difference is, do you need to do the techniques of powerlifting to build a better chest or a bigger chest? So I want to take just a few exercises from like what Jeff's new strength and size workouts look like. So we're just gonna take one day and he's starting opening up with his squats.
Now I thought the bar speed and depth were both solid here, but I did notice a bit of knee valgus or inward knee cave.
So I love Jeff explains things very well when it comes to, you know, knee cave, knee valves. I call it the concave knees.
That your knee valgus is getting worse over time. That could be a sign that you have weak glutes or you're just letting your technique.
So from the side view, you're watching him do a little bit of a technique. Now this is a consistent thing that powerlifters do. You squat, basically squatting down, and then you push back into your glutes a bit and pop yourself back up while maintaining a neutral spine. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what's right or wrong, I'm gonna tell you what's more optimal. If you're starting off just powerlifting, what I'll teach you is gonna keep you away from being injured a lot longer. What's the best way to do this to keep myself from being injured? If you powerlift, eventually you will get injured. If you bodybuild, eventually you'll get injured. If you play football, eventually you'll get injured. So when you train like other sports that are going to 100% result in injury, I'm not saying because you're doing it wrong, I'm saying it's just what happens when you play sports. You'll get injured. So when it comes to actually squatting, I do the same thing as in my like videos before, from the ground up, feel a little bit outside, shoulders apart, comfortable where you are is basically how comfortable you are when you take a shit. When you sit down, that's how far your knees should be apart when we talk about squatting. Feet around 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. This was enough room for your hips to actually move. We're gonna externally rotate the hips, lining our knees up with the toes, and then hips are gonna be back a slight bit, engaging your core the entire time. Shoulder depression, chest up. Our CT and L spine are completely straight with a little bit of a natural curvature in your spine. And then your knees and your hips bend at the same time, and you lower. You don't have to go ass to grass. That is a powerlifting technique. That technique will eventually get you injured. It's inevitable.
I am inevitable.
I'm not picking on the sport. Ask anybody in the sport. How long have you been powerlifting? I don't know, X amount of years. Been injured yet? Yes. Where? Lower back, hips, What our job is to do is to prevent that as long as we can by having good form. So my point is, if you're going to be at the gym just primarily for the reason of just building muscle to look good, right? And then if you're playing pickup basketball or club hockey, you're training just hard enough so you can be on the ice and not gas out or the court or whatever, so you're not just like puffing and panting while you're doing it. No one is training for their pickup basketball, their rec team sports like they are if they're playing college football or college or varsity sports or whatever. You're just training to build muscle. Those techniques are not warranted. Anyway. Does that make sense? So we're gonna go to another one here and we're gonna go to his bench. Okay, so now Jeff is a very smart dude. Jeff knows how to program. Jeff is gonna teach you what he knows. He likes to powerlift. Plus, these are exercises that he thinks or studies that are the best movements for you to do. So when we're going to bench press to build our chest, yes, the flat bench is the king of chest builders. It does build overall bigger chest, it does. But do we need to bench like this? As a powerlifter, 100%. If you are a powerlifter, this is what you need to do. What Jeff is doing here is a technique, it's a hip drive technique. And the reason why your feet are tucked totally under your hips, it prevents your butt from coming off of the bench. But for you to build muscle, you don't have to do that. If you're powerlifting, you do, okay? Now I wanna go to a different movement here, and I've seen a lot of people do this before, and it's basically like it's like a pause rep. You pause on the way up. It's for you to really feel your braces, glutes engaged. So when you're at that moment, when you're deadlifting, when you're in that spot there, you can really hold yourself with your brace, and your brace being, basically when you hold that bar, letting that bar pull itself down, shoulder depression, core engaged in that way, and then nothing moves. The way he's doing it, he has that little bit of that T-spine flexion. Will someone say, well, that's a technique for deadlifting? It might be just me only. But I don't care if you're a professional deadlifter. I don't care if you're the best deadlifter in the whole entire world. There's a more optimal way of doing this. The reason why people do this is because they were doing it from the start, from the get-go. They got used to doing it and they got strong doing it. They probably are better at engaging their core as well too. Let me give you this. When you're doing deadlifts, as long as you can engage your core as strong as you can, your back can have a little flexion. The only problem is people don't know how to engage their core. So they're trying to do these powerlifting techniques and forgetting about engaging their core. So when you do have T-spine flexion and you're not engaging your core, then you get L-spine flexion. We need L-spine extension, T-spine extension, not hyperextension, right? So this is a good technique to use, but it's only good if you're doing it correctly from the ground, from floor to core. I'm always gonna say from floor to core, from floor to core. Now his back in this is rounded, but his hinge is next to perfect. And he's probably, a guy like Jeff, I know for sure, he's probably sitting there thinking about core. I'm gonna stop right here, guys. That's what I want to kind of get you guys, so you guys understand that, listen, if you're powerlifting, if you're doing a powerlifting meet, and you're just starting, what I teach you to begin with is going to help you regardless. If you want to do it this way, the way I teach you is going to help you, and you're going to get better and strong. I am so effing strong when it comes to deads because my T-spine doesn't move. My back, my brace is strong. But I was taught that way from the get-go. Starting off that way is a good way to start and continue that way. Now again, if you're not powerlifting, you don't have to do any of these things, right? You don't have to bench, deadlift, or squat to build a nice back, legs, or chest. You don't. So don't think that you have to do those movements to get better, bigger, or stronger. If you want to get stronger in the deadlift, you deadlift. If you want to get stronger in the bench press, you bench press. If you want to get stronger at squats, you squat. But that's about it. But if you want to get bigger muscles all around, you don't have to do those movements at all. And I tell you right now, those movements are going to speed up you getting injured eventually. Eventually. You do it often enough that you're eventually going to just go and not give yourself a break. And that's totally fine. But as long as we understand where we're going with these things, as long as we have purpose, as long as we have a plan, as long as we're knowing our understanding of recovery and resting and everything else, nutrition, that. Anyway, guys, hope you guys liked that video. If you did, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, guys. And check it out for coaching, johnnyshave.com. If you guys want to know what my coaching is all about, you can book phone consults, 50 minutes, 30 minutes. You can ask me absolutely anything you want. And at the end of that phone consult, if you decide you want to go with training, I'll deduct that phone consult from any package that you choose, guys. Follow me on Instagram at _JohnnyShreve_ and check out my new gym at Impact Fitness 56. Anyway, guys, you know what it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.